I
We are live. We are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Ask the Doggy Experts live here with Jess and George this evening.
Hi, everybody.
We are live with you here. I guess I thought I was live and I wasn't, but we are live with you now for our Ask the Doggy Experts and here with Jessica and George. So we're going to dive right into things here and get some questions rolling in. So if you all have questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat bar to us and we will get them answered tonight. We have some fun stuff to announce here shortly. So we're going to wait until we have some more people jump on here. But we have some really, really exciting news, which most people are, especially if you like dog training and if you come to dog training at DogiZone, you're going to really, really like this news, like a lot. So, yeah, just if you know anybody that should be on here who's thinking about training their dog, please share this with them. Ask them to join us because cool stuff is happening right now at DogiZone, and we want to share it with all of you. So get your questions submitted into the chat bar as they come up. And if you would answer our intro question of the night of what's your dog's favorite season? What is your dog's favorite season? I think my dog's favorite season is spring because they get to go leap into the pond. Jess, what's your dog's favorite season?
I'll just go off of for Buckshot. Oddly enough, it is winter. If anybody's ever seen videos of him zipping and zooming around in the cold, not my favorite season.
Touche.
But his.
There you go. George, what about you? What's your dog's favorite season?
I think Ravens is fall. Why?
Fall?
Because I love fall, and I told her to like fall.
I like fall's my favorite too.
Same.
Definitely my favorite. And you know what? I don't think my labs would actually complain about jumping in the pond right now either. I mean, today was beautiful outside.
Absolutely gorgeous, yeah.
Yeah, definitely nice. So it looks like we got a few people jumping in here. If you just are jumping in with us, we'd love to know what your dog's favorite season is. Go ahead and throw it into the chat bar and tell us what it is and why. We'd love to hear from you. We have some exciting news that we're going to share with you here in just a few minutes. So while we're doing this here, if you would like, we can just kind of dive into a question and then maybe we'll go and announce things after we get through one of our questions here. So good one that I was actually wrestling with was how to tell if your dog is overweight. I know a lot of people really care about their dog's health. In fact, everybody that brings their dog to DogiZone, I think, has a health-minded kind of focus for their dog. They're not trying to find the cheapest quality food for their dogs. They want good quality. And so, health is super important to a lot of our clients. And, we see some dogs, unfortunately, that are pretty much dying a very slow death because the owners are overfeeding them or not exercising them enough. But I mean, the number of dogs that we see that are obese, how many would you say that you see a week, each of you, that are probably obese? Out of 10 dogs, how many would you say you see that are obese?
Out of 10, I would probably say 3.
Mm-hmm. George, what do you think?
I'd say it's higher than that. I'd say 50%.
Yeah, I could say, yeah, probably somewhere in between there. I think that, the younger dogs, it's not so common, but especially when we see the older dogs in there, that's definitely where we tend to see it. They've been spayed, they've gotten a little bit older, the amount of activity and exercise they're getting is decreased, and they're still taking in a ton of calories. George, there's a lot of different ways for people to measure this. I've got one that I'll share, but I want to hear, because you have sometimes what we call the old school tricks of the trade, right? After 40 years, what's been always your little telltale sign of if a dog is overweight or not?
Well, I tend to like dogs a little leaner than most people feel comfortable with. But, coming from the hunting dog background, lean and mean, you should be able to see striations in the muscle and stuff. That said, a good way that I tell the general public is standing above your dog, rest your thumbs on their spine and drop your hands on either side of the rib cage. So just let your hands relax with your thumbs on the dog's spine, and then rub your hand up and down the length of the dog. You should feel you should feel your fingers moving across the rib cage without it being like an accordion. So you don't want a big thing, but you definitely want to feel those. I can't get my hand in there. You just want to feel a little bit of that instead of this. And if you can grab a handful of dog butt, like go right above their tail and grab there. If you can get a handful there, you got too much weight on the dog. You shouldn't be able to grab their butt.
Well, there you have it. The old school way to tell if your dog is overweight or not. Jess, what's your method?
I would probably do something a little bit similar. You want to be able to feel the dog's ribs without having a thick layer of fat against them. I always say especially for broader chested dogs, the chest you want that to be wider than the abdomen with a noticeable tuck. Not something like hourglass shape, but a noticeable tuck from the chest down to the belly. Generally, any overweight dog's going to kind of just be like a straight or wide out. So no waist and no distinction between the two.
So when I went to University of Tennessee, one of the things that we talked about a lot was weight in dogs, and it's a huge reason why people bring their dogs to us is to actually help to lose weight in a healthy kind of way. So the system that we learned about there was from actually Purina, believe it or not.
Interesting.
And I'm not sure if you all are familiar with it or not, but there's something called the body condition system. And you can Google this. So it's really easy to find. You can just type in Purina body condition chart. And this will bring up a chart for you to be able to look at your dog against and see exactly where it is that they stand on this chart. And I would be willing to bet that many of our watchers here probably have dogs that would be in the rating between 6 and 9, which is considered too heavy. It's a 1 to 9 rating. But, we ultimately would suggest that you look at that so that you really do get a good feel for what is the right weight for my dog. Because when we have a dog that's overweight, I mean, we say it about people all the time, right? But, we're slowly killing the dogs and really reducing their lifespan, reducing their mobility, causing them other potential issues down the road. So I definitely think it's something to watch for. So that being said, I just want to talk about the exciting announcement. You guys, I think we should tell people. So, and then we're going to answer some questions. I think I saw some stuff come in here. So it looks like how do you stop a 3-month-old corgi from nipping? We are going to definitely get that for you. No problem, Gertrude. I will definitely cover that for you. But without further ado, so we have been wrestling with this idea for a long time of like, how do we get the dog trainers more space in the dog training department? And ultimately, it's been a long time. We've probably been talking about it for close to 2 years. The dog trainers have done a great job. The department's blown up. They've gotten, unfortunately, very little space to work with as the rest of our business has grown. And so we've been thinking, how do we expand dog training to be able to make things more comfortable for everybody? So we started looking around to figure out how we could get more space. We thought about putting a second floor into the building. Spent several months looking at, drawings and talking to builders and architects and all sorts of people about how it is that we could put a second floor in the building. And it was going to be real kind of crazy situation. So we decided we won't put a second floor inside the building. We'll kind of move away from that. And then we had an opportunity come up that was just too good to pass up to take on a 5,000 square foot space. that is next door to DogiZone. So those of you that are bringing your dogs to training classes soon, very soon, we hope. I literally signed the lease today. Have got a nice big space for the training department to stretch their legs. And the cool thing is that it's big enough that not only is the training department going to have a nice big space there, but we're also going to be opening a full retail store there as well. So really, really exciting stuff. More to just helping you to make dog ownership easier and giving you all everything that you need in one place, and hopefully delivering you the highest quality and most convenient solutions available to you. So we're super excited about it. Stay tuned because there is going to be lots of other fun stuff that comes up. And so, yeah, we're just super excited. And I can see some comments here of some people that look like they might be fairly excited about this announcement. So if you missed it, you'll just have to go back and watch. We'll be sending plenty of information about this out as things progress here and as we get the space prepared for the training department to move in and the retail store to open up. And so anyways, we're super excited about it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. Jess, how do you feel about this? I mean, you've got to be pretty excited to...
You don't say.
This is your second move. This is your second move.
This will be my second move with DogiZone as a whole. We started up in Urbana and then came down to Rockville. So this is the second growth that we've had as a company within the. I mean, it's been 5 years since we moved down to Goody Drive, and I'm proud of everyone on our team, of everyone, not just the trainers, but everyone in the company, because everyone has been super laser focused about making sure that we can get this to happen, and it's going to be awesome, man. I'm pumped. George might be more excited than I am, but I can't tell with his face right now.
I know George looks kind of scary right now, but George, tell us how are you feeling about this? You excited?
I'm always excited. Listen, I just get tired of saying make a hole as I walk through the building every day, you know? So I keep running over these little people we have working for us. So I'll be happy just to be able to move and hit some space. And of course, peace and quiet. So yeah, I'm very excited. And you know, this yard back behind me over here, yeah, I really like that yard, Andrew. Just making sure that stays clear in your mind.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's a nice yard. The outdoor
I love my yard.
We
take care of my yard.
It's definitely a nice
the Big
nice
Daddy George Memorial Dog Training Yard.
Okay. No resource guarding the training yard.
That's funny.
No, but Andrew, I'm really excited. I know everyone on the team is really excited about the expansion of everything, being able to offer a lot more, to be able to have additional training spaces. We're all really excited for it.
Well, and you know what I didn't even really mention, which I guess I probably should. I mean, we had 3 of us go down to University of Tennessee to get certified as fitness trainers. And so with this new space, we will actually have our fitness department able to fully open up. Part of the problem when we came back from Tennessee was we were like, wow, we really can't wait to start this fitness program. But we really didn't have great space to do it. And so we're going to have that now, which is super cool. So that's another big thing. So when we were talking about the overweight dogs earlier,
right.
We have weight loss programs that are going to be coming out. So if you do have a dog that's overweight, we can help you get them on track with the right nutrition, the right exercise program, and everything. So we're really, really excited about that. George,
I got to check out. My next appointment just arrived, so there's no rest for the wicked. I got to go back and train another dog.
George, go train another dog.
Y'all can take care of that biting 3-month-old dog. If y'all keep doing that, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, that being said, yes, Gene, we are keeping the existing building. That is not going anywhere. So we're going to be adding 5,000 square feet to our space. So we will have 17,000 square feet of space, which just is so exciting.
What are we going to do with it all?
What, are you kidding? It's already full. It's already full. In my mind, it's already completely busy and full in there. Like, it's going to be really cool. I'm going to stop talking about this because I'm just getting really, really excited. I did just sign the lease like literally an hour ago. I didn't think I was going to make it onto this call, quite frankly. I was like, I'm going to miss this. I better hurry this up here. So anyways, well, look, I'm super excited about it. Please, we will love to have you come and visit us there and check everything out. So keep your eyes peeled for the updates and announcements on that. So I do want to circle back to some questions here. We did have a question that came in from Gertrude. How do you stop a 3-month-old corgi from nipping? Which I think is a great question. And it's funny because I was walking down the street this morning to somebody's house for a quick meeting, and this corgi was walking by, and she was walking by as if the dog was going to try to kill me. And I was like, this is a really cute little corgi. Like, he's totally friendly. I can read the dog pretty well. And it was this same exact type of thing, where she was just concerned because the dog does a lot of play biting and nipping. So we can talk a little bit about this, but I always, like to just look at the breed that we're dealing with, because so much can be learned from just that in itself. And, corgis are a herding breed. And although they may be a small dog, they are a small dog in a large dog's body. And that is the personality of that dog. And if you do your homework and see what they were bred for, you would be probably surprised as to what this dog did for work.
Good job, yeah.
Yeah. So, herding dogs and herding breeds are always going to be more nippy. And we really have to find a way to channel that. They want to control things. They want to try to change movement of things. They want things to, slow down. If it's, moving away from them quickly, they want to chase it and stop it. So that being said, it's just kind of natural, but how do you stop it? Jess, why don't you start and talk a little bit about what you think, and then I'll dive into my thoughts around this one.
Absolutely, Andrew. I think when we look at, especially for a 3-month-old corgi that's nipping, their information gathering at first and foremost, like puppy biting and mouthing is just blatant. It's normal. It's normal. Okay. The puppies will explore the world with their mouth. So again, it's a difference. Is it nipping? Is it biting? Is it chewing? So to kind of delve into all of that, especially between that age range, 2 to 4 months, it's an uncomfortable teething process. Okay. First and foremost, we want to make sure, one, that we have all the appropriate toys, like chew toys, that are available for puppies. Probably about 5 or 8 calls ago, we went through a vast majority of different things that are appropriate chew toys for young puppies. So I don't know if we can link a video in a video, but that would probably be pretty cool at some point. But we have to make sure, one, we have enough stuff to be able to kind of trade options for the dogs. At that age, it's not necessarily fair to continually correct the dog for that. I think we can look at removing the dog from the situation. Quiet, barking dog. Remove the dog from the situation, look at the time of the day that it's occurring. Maybe we need to disrupt it with, like our couch or our out, to be able to remove the dog back away from us, maybe even give the dog a little bit of a secluded space if it's being too much. But we have to look at the end of the day, like, what is causing it? Is it the teething process? Is it attention seeking? Is it the corgis coming up nipping behind you? We have to be able to help them, move away, divert in a lot of different manners. So
yeah, I think that, the key here is not how do you stop a dog from nipping. I'm looking at this nipping based on the dog's age as a playful type of nipping. And if you watch how dogs play with each other, what do? They jump on each other. They bite each other. They yank and pull on each other. And all of this is normal play. But when they are doing that with you, they're looking at you as somebody who's equal to them. They're seeing you as maybe someone equal or less than equal to them. And so they're doing this as a way to initiate attention, play, engagement from you. And so there's a lot of things that you can do and not even realize it that reinforce these things. Sometimes people push their dogs off of them because they want the dog to stop, and it's uncomfortable when a dog bites them. But pushing them off of you reinforces them wanting to play more intensely with you. So, I usually don't encourage people to try to correct it. I try to teach the dog what it is that we really want them to be doing instead. And so with a 3-month-old dog, if they're biting our feet, then they're not focused on following a specific task. So my approach would be, let's go ahead and teach the dog what it is that we want them to be doing in that circumstance where they're nipping. So for example, if it's walking, and this is when the situation comes up, well, then we need to be teaching a walking command to the dog, or we need to be teaching some other type of command that's incompatible with what it is that the dog wants to do, which is nip at our feet. But it's a lot easier to reward them for doing the right thing versus trying to correct them from doing the wrong thing. And I would just encourage you to really look at what is it that you're doing that might be reinforcing the behavior, because I think when you figure that out, you'll be able to stop doing that and start adding something new into the routine. One of my mentors a long time ago talked to me about what he called subtraction by addition. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of that type of phrase before or whatever, but subtraction by addition is adding something that will ultimately allow for something else to go away. So, when we start teaching the dog to do something, we add a new behavior to this certain set of circumstances, then the dog can't be doing two things at the same time. So this causes the issue to go away, if that makes sense. Yep. So that's really kind of where my head's at with that. But anything else you want to add to that one, Jess?
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head, Andrew. I think, when it comes down to it, you made a good point. A lot of times when we do, especially when we do consultations, it's how do we stop this behavior? How do we stop the dog from barking? How do we stop the dog from jumping? How do we stop the dog from fill in the blank? Taking a proactive approach is better with any of those things, because then we have to take a step back and go, well, what can we teach this dog to do? Mm-hmm. How do we slow everything down to the point to where we're able to get the dog calm when somebody comes in instead of letting them jump all over the place? So it's definitely a mindset shift when we talk about everything in our 10 pillars of management, right? When we talk about mindset, skill set, action set, those 3 specific things, they always come into play, especially when we're training in classes and lessons.
Absolutely. So hopefully you found that helpful. This is certainly something that it's easy for us to talk about, of course, and for you maybe going home and applying this may not be quite so simple for you. And I'll explain why. A lot of the times when we start trying to make changes to our dog's behavior, and maybe these are new changes, things that we haven't done before, a lot of times behaviors actually get worse.
Yep.
Before things get better. And there's a psychological term for that, which is called an extinction burst. So a lot of the times when we try to eliminate an issue, what happens is the dog starts trying other behaviors or trying that same behavior more intensely to try to get to the same result, whatever that result was that they were looking for. So, that being said, it's definitely something that we can help you out with, and we would be more than happy to. So, all right. Well, I think we covered that one here for us. Again, anybody who has questions, just go ahead and throw them into the chat bar here. Jess, one of the things I thought we could talk a little bit about was some of the different types of training products that people should be considering with their dog, specifically kind of around, leashes.
Okay.
Have we talked about leashes? Right type of leash? I don't know that we've talked about really the right type of leash and what to have, what not to have.
You know what? You're probably right. I vaguely remember us talking about, because I hear George in the back going, I have a leash older than both of y'all combined or something.
Yeah, maybe he did. So I don't know. We'll
based on it again. I think it's a good solid topic because it depends on what we're using the leash for.
This is true. This is very true. There's a lot of different types of leashes out there for people to choose from. And I think a lot of the times people make their leash choice based on, what looks the best. Right? But that's not always what's best for your dog and what's safest and what's going to give you the best result. So that being said, why don't we talk a little bit about training leashes? Generally we start with a 15-foot or a 10-foot leash with most of our clients. And we do that to help to simulate the feeling of being off leash. And we also do that to help with reducing the oppositional reflex that so many dogs struggle with. And, generally there's a little bit of a progression from using that 15-foot leash to getting back to using a standard 4, 5, or 6-foot leash. And I should really say a standard 4-foot or 6-foot leash, because I'll tell you what, finding a 5-foot leash is no easy task. But I'll tell you what we're going to have in our store?
5-foot leashes.
Leashes.
So Andrew, I was telling somebody the other day that each of my leashes is the same height as me, and I'm 5'2", and I specifically get my biothane leashes custom made at a certain length, actually for each of my dogs. So I have a different width, bolt snap size for each of the dogs that we have.
You're extra. Wow.
I'm a little particular with my leashes.
There you go. There you have it. So in terms of the type of material, what's your favorite material to use, Jessica?
I have actually two favorite materials, and it depends on, I guess I'll say it depends kind of on the weather. My absolute favorite is a nice, like 5 to 6 foot leather leash. I just love the way it feels in my hand. I am prone sometimes when I'm working bigger dogs to get nice rope burn from some of the cotton or the nylon leashes. So I will usually prefer a nice leather leash for my regular leash work, for a nice 6 foot leash. If I'm doing anything with a long thought line, ASAT or biothane. It's so easy to clean off. It can get dirty. It doesn't matter. So for me, those are the two, I guess, 3 materials that I have a preference for.
Yeah. I mean, the biothane and ASAT isn't necessarily readily available at like most stores in the area.
Yeah.
Definitely something that I'm going to make sure that we carry more of when we open up the store. And, something also that you can purchase online a little bit more easily. Really, the quality difference in the material is quite significant between the ASAT and the biothane, in my opinion, from what I've seen at least.
Yeah.
The ASAT that I've seen seems to be a much thicker, more robust material. The biothane just doesn't seem quite as robust. It's still good. It still feels nice in your hands, but nothing is better than a leather leash in your hand. I mean, if you want the most comfortable leash in your hand, then you should have a harness leather leash.
Yep.
And to be honest with you folks, most leather leashes that you buy in a PetSmart or Petco are not not good enough quality for you to get a good experience with it. So I'm going to tell you, go to somebody who can get a handmade version.
Yeah.
The Amish make some really, really nice leather leashes. And we'll definitely have more of those. But I would definitely suggest that. It takes a while for those leather leashes to break in. You want to get like leather conditioner to put on them and stretch them out.
Neat's foot oil works really well.
Yep. There's all sorts of different ways that you can condition them to get them soft and comfortable, but I can't tell you how disappointed I was. My first training leash that I got when I was at dog training school was a really, really nice harness leather 5 foot, 3/4 inch leash. And, I don't know what, something happened to it, but it fit my hand like a glove. And there's something to be said for that. There's so many opportunities for us to put our dogs on leash. Having a leash that's really comfortable is just a nice thing. I mean, we're talking about $20 here. I think most of us can afford the $20 leash. And, at the end of the day, it's just going to allow you to be more confident in your handling of your dog. If you're handling a leash that's not comfortable in your hand, if you're concerned about getting a leash burn with it, you will not handle it properly. It will affect the quality of your dog's training and your confidence in what it is that you're doing with them. So that's huge. I would say fan of leather. But for durability, and something that's like a very, very close second, I would say the A-Stat is definitely awesome. And I personally like the A-Stat leashes for long leashes. And I like the leather leashes for close-up work. I don't like the leather leashes dragging on the ground because they get beat up that way. So those are good for close-up. And then your A-Stat for long line work, for distance work. You can drag on the ground. You can drag it through the snow. You can put it in the dishwasher. It's just, they're awesome. So now in terms of like hooks on the leash, there's a lot of different types of hooks out there as well. You have your traditional snap hook, you have French scissor hooks, or snaps. I just like the traditional hook. You got one? Yeah, that one. That's the style that I personally like. Brass, not something that's cheap to snap. Brass is going to be the best. I mean, there's some other ones that are okay, like the leashes that we use right now. We sell our cotton 10-foot leashes. Those come with kind of a zinc metal plated snap, and they're fine. They're durable. We kind of sell those because we know that our clients are only going to use them a lot of the time for a few weeks before they move on to a different type of leash system. But they definitely will last for that period of time. But if you want long lasting, you're going to use it with multiple dogs. Yeah, the A-Stat's the way to go.
And I also, Andrew, I think another thing to touch on is I will tend to, when I'm bringing a new dog into the house, I will have them have a drag line.
Yep.
Or like a check, like not long check cord, but a drag line on in the house. And actually what I tend to use, I make my own with paracord and a small tiny bolt snap. That's exactly what I had for Buck. It was like an 1/8 inch paracord that I grabbed out of the barn and just cut it off at 8.5 feet. So I could just help, no loop on the end of it. So, and you can eventually do that into like a tab leash as well, when you're starting to work into more advanced off leash control too.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of drag lines. Of course, no handle on them. Only when the dog's being supervised, because it is a strangulation risk. So that is the one thing that I need to just be real upfront with you about. But the other type of leash that I'm really a big fan of is traffic leads.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a big fan of them because sometimes I think that the 4, 5, and 6 foot leash are just too much. I mean, I'm 6'2", okay, and I don't use a 6 foot leash. I use a 5 foot leash. I think 6 feet tends to just be a foot too much. And that's why I have not ever understood why the leash companies only make 4-footers and 6-footers.
Yeah.
I guess because, they've probably done more research on what people buy than I have. But I'll tell you, from a comfort and quality standpoint, I like that. The traffic leads really are just long enough to wrap around your waist.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the times I don't walk my dogs on a leash very much anymore. And so if you're the type of person where you're hiking, taking your dog off leash places, the traffic lead is perfect because, when you're on the trail and somebody comes up on you, you can just call your dog to you, clip them up real quick, and boom, they're on the leash and they're right there at your side. And if you got caught with your pants down, you're not fumbling with 5, 10, 15 feet worth of leash.
Right.
So big fan of the traffic lead. And what you can usually do is just take the snap, put it around your waist, and then clip it to the handle.
Mm-hmm.
And if for some reason the snap doesn't clip to the handle, you can just get a key ring and attach that to the handle so that you do have something to clip to.
Like a nice little ring, yeah.
Yep. What other types of leashes are we missing?
Ooh. Well, I love slip leads.
Yeah.
Transparent. I think they're a great tool. We use them at DogiZone all the time.
I mean, it is a primary leash. I don't even know how I forgot to mention that. I should just a little bit for that.
Yeah. So I love a nice slip lead. The ones that we have are great quality. They feel good in the hands, even though they're more of a rope leash. They're really good quality. The new blue and red ones that I saw on the shelf when I got back from vacation, by the way, I saw those there. They spoke out to me and I bought one. I need that. I love a nice slip lead. I love the versatility behind it. I can use it as a slip lead. I can use it as a leash. I can use it as a veterinarian harness. Because if I don't know if you remember, Tater can't wear a regular collar. So when I take him out, because I'm too, I don't want to say proud. I don't put him in a harness, but when I have to take him to like the veterinarian or if I have to take him somewhere, I will just loop it up as a veterinarian harness. I can make it into a halter. That is one of the most versatile leashes that has ever been created.
Well, and there's a reason why veterinarians primarily use slip leads and why facilities like us use slip leads, because it is literally the safest. Now, the one thing that I will say is what most slip leads are missing, especially the kind that, are the more disposable type, like we have some of them, the people, if somebody comes to the leash comes to the facility without a leash to pick up their dog, we don't allow dogs to walk out of the lobby without a leash on them. We need to be safety minded always. So, but making sure they have a stopper on them, like the ones that we give away and pretty much the ones that I've seen at 99% of the vets, they don't have a stopper on them. So if you slacken up the leash too much, then the dog can actually back out of them, which defeats the purpose of the slip lead. Now, the slip leashes that we use at DogiZone internally, like our staff members, are the same exact ones that we sell on our shelf. And we do that strictly because they are like the safest tool to use. They're cotton, they're soft on your hands because of the design and shape of them. It's got a slip lead, it's got a stopper on it. And if you don't want to use it as a slip lead and you just want to hook it up as your regular leash, you can do that. The one thing that I don't like about our slip leashes is the fact that when you're not using it as a slip lead, it just feels a little too long for me. It's just a hair over six feet, and I don't love that. But a lot of people do. And most of the time that people are using our leashes, I think that they tend to use them as the slip lead. They're great to have at your front door. Yeah. Because how often do you somebody show up to the house and you go, wow, I wish I had a leash on the dog to be able to handle them there. So having one of these slip leads just on the handle at the front door, I know some of you are so concerned about how the inside of your house looks, and I get it, and I'm sort of like that. You know, that being said, it's a great little thing just to have right there by the door. You can quickly throw it on the dog, get them focused back on their obedience if they're off track. So I'm a big fan of using them in that type of situation. Keep one of them in your car.
Yep.
And how often, I don't know, it just seems to happen. Like whenever I drive down the road, that's not whenever I drive down the road. That's a little over exaggeration, but I feel like I run into so many stray dogs.
Yeah.
I'm like, does this happen to other people too, or is it just me? And you know, when it's possible, I try to stop and do what I can. And I've seen other people chasing dogs down the road and pulled over and said, "Hey, here's a leash." I've been able to give somebody a leash so that they can get their dog. So it's just a good tool to, you know, have a few of them around. Keep one in your car, keep one in your fanny pack, keep one at your front door. You can have slip leads around all over the place, and it's just, you'll find how helpful it is. So, what other leashes did we miss? We didn't really talk about like dual purpose leashes and couplers. So I can maybe take a second and talk about. So there's something called a dual purpose lead. And ultimately, they are designed to be used for multiple purposes. Shocker. You know, they have a D-ring on them more often than not that's set in the leash itself. And then sometimes there's a ring that slides up and down the leash. These leashes are good in the sense that you can use them if you need to restrain the dog, or if you need to temporarily hold the dog somewhere. You can take the leash and you can wrap it around the banister or around a tree or whatever the case may be. If there's like an emergency situation where you're like, oh my gosh, I need something to wrap my dog around. And use those. Of course, safety's got to be considered when you're using leashes as a restraint like that. But the dual purpose lead can be used for all sorts of different uses. I won't even go into all of them, but I think I'm more interested in talking about the coupler. That's why. Coupler, definitely something that I get questions about from owners of multiple dogs. How many multiple dog owners are there on with us this evening? If you have more than one dog, we would love it if you you know, just said, I got 2, 4, 6. I've got 4 dogs.
We've got 3.
You've got 3. Some people would classify me as one of the crazy ones because I have 4. So the even crazier part is that my wife is pregnant and we're expecting a baby at the end of November. And I have a puppy that's due to show up like probably the same week that the baby's due.
I know somebody, Andrew, that would love to puppy sit.
Oh, yeah? Do you want the puppy?
What's 4 when you've got 3? No?
Do you want the puppy?
Maybe. What kind of puppy is it?
Labrador.
Is it a yellow lab?
It's going to be a fox red British field lab female. So maybe we should talk about that. It might be something that you should consider. It would make my life easier, and you might be pretty happy about it too. So anyways, I don't even, what were we talking about? Couplers. Yes, couplers. So look, couplers are great for really, really well-trained dogs.
Yeah.
If you have 2 dogs that walk really, really well on the leash on the leash at the same time, great. I always tell people, train your dogs individually. Yep. When you can get them to walk with you perfectly individually with no problems, then bring them together with 2 leashes and practice walking with 2 leashes, because they're going to do different things. You're going to need to manipulate things differently. As soon as you throw a coupler, which is a splitter on the end of the leash for 2 or 3 dogs, you lose the ability to communicate with each dog individually. So you need to make sure that they're really in tune with you before you move to those types of things. Jess, there are a few questions that came in. I don't want to miss them here. Are you good to go a little over on time?
Yeah,
We deliver a little extra value tonight because I think we ran our mouths for a little while about this 5,000 square foot expansion.
Oh, good news. Yes, I'm fine.
All right. That sounds good. Well, then let's see here. First question that I saw that came in is, hi, any advice for a Springer with a new baby? Great question. Very, very good question. And Tom, if you want, I'll answer this one for you. Now,
Daddy.
you are a step ahead of me. I haven't had the baby yet, but that's coming soon. Well, I'm not having the baby, but you get it. So advice here. I think that, obviously bringing a baby into the home is a huge change in lifestyle, schedule, a lot of things. One of the best things that you can do is try to maintain a routine for the dog as much as you possibly can. Try to maintain a routine. Try to ultimately keep that dog being a priority, because that dog's been a priority for a while for you. And so changing that can be a pretty big impact for the dog. So really continue to do what you can to maintain your schedule, to continue to make that dog a priority. I understand the baby comes first. I do. But we want to do everything that we can to really try to keep that dog not forgotten, because a lot of the times that's kind of what happens. And then we start seeing destructive behaviors, all sorts of other issues. Right. Dogs getting less exercise. I find that more exercise is going to be a really good thing, especially with, a new baby in the house. Don't over exercise the dog to where they're irritable, they're so tired, but just more exercise than they're used to getting is good. Gradually build that up a little bit. I would encourage you to make obedience a priority. Yeah. Obedience should come above and beyond everything else. So if you're giving the dog the exercise and you're keeping the dog focused on obedience, then you get to watch how the dog responds and reacts to the sounds and smells and sight of a new baby. And you get to monitor that and take your time with that. There's no rush. It doesn't need to happen overnight, but take your time and make sure that the dog's comfortable with what it is that they're experiencing from a distance first. The worst thing that you want to do is throw them into the mix and let them go right up. I mean, take your time, keep the dog focused on obedience, observe them, watch them, give them frequent breaks. Don't, force them to have to be with you and stay in the room that you're in. If that's normally what they do, you might want to give them breaks from that every so often. So, there's quite a few things that you can do to continue to maintain that. The next thing that I would do is, try to ease that transition by just bringing in some smells if you could. This is probably too late, but a blanket back from the hospital or something like that, that the dog can smell. They can put it in their crate, and that way they can maybe start to become familiarized with the scent of the baby before they actually arrive home. So those are some of the thoughts that are coming to mind for me. Jess, do you want to add to that? And then we can dive into the next question here.
Sure. I mean, I've been there.
Yeah, no, you have.
I've been there.
Or Pipple or whatever. I think it's kind of
the same. I too at the time actually. The important stuff to remember because the dog's life is going to change, and you said that 100%, Andrew. Being able to prepare the dogs prior to the baby arriving is the most important. I was working with a client a couple of weeks ago, and she's not due for another 6 months or so. And I let her know, I said, start setting up. Have you set up the baby room yet? Have you set up the bassinet? Have you set up, the swing that makes noises and moves and all of this stuff? Because especially with the dog that may have never been socialized to babies.
Preparatory is key.
Yes, absolutely. So all of the things like put up the diaper genie if you're going to have one, or whatever all of those things are, start to populate the house with that. That's going to allow the dog to figure out how to maneuver around those things. And you can you can be proactive to call the dog off of those objects without the baby in it. You can even put like a stuffed animal or something in there to at least change the shape or the sight of it for the dog, because once the dog's interested, you know, they're going to go sniff the baby's going to cry, the dog's, who knows what's going to happen. So the more you can proactively set that stuff up, that, you know, it's a core value of our company, and it's a core value in all of our lives of safety first. You're now responsible for a tiny human with the dog.
It's like seriously so real to me right now. Like, we're less than 8 weeks away. So
Yeah.
I'm like, Tom, I am with you, my man. We are going to get through this. And yeah, our dogs are going to end up loving the babies. Manifest that.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, but don't be complacent, but definitely manifest, you know, that they are going to have a great relationship together, because, you know, quite frankly, as some people are overly concerned and they create anxiety.
Yep.
And we don't want to do that. So be aware.
There is nothing cooler to me than watching Bradley interact with our dogs. It is the best feeling to watch him be able to run them through obedience, to be able to play with them. So it's rewarding as a parent and a dog trainer to have that aligned.
So the next question that we had here are from Sarah. What are your opinions in invisible fence? Well,
we just talked about this today, didn't we?
We literally had a conversation about invisible fence today, Sarah. So this is hot topic here. Hot topic. So yeah, I guess I'll start on and cover this one here. So if you're not familiar with all of my background, part of how I ended up in the position that I'm in today was because I got a dog when I was in high school, while I was 14 years old, and he ran away a lot. He was just kind of a brat. In fact, I would go as far as saying he was a little bit of a terrorist. He would chew stuff up, he'd run away, and I needed something. You know, it was not going well for me. So I got an invisible fence because a friend of mine had one for his family, or his family's, when I was 14 at the time. So his parents had it. And I thought that was super cool. Like, their dog always stayed at home, didn't run off, and they backed up to the woods. And I was like, I don't even back up to the woods. So this has got to work. And it worked great for me. And it's ultimately ended up, you know, Brian from Invisible Fence in Montgomery County gave me a job answering phones on the weekend. I was 14 years old and a total punk at the time. And he gave me an opportunity. So I had a way to pay for my invisible fence because, you know, when you're 14 years old, you don't have any money. And, you know, I got a job working for him, answering phones, and paid for my fence. And it was, you know, the best thing that, you know, I ever got for my dog. I have all 4 of my dogs now are on an invisible fence. You know, in my opinion, you know, the fence is a tool.
Right.
And as long as it's used as a tool, I think that it's an incredible product. I think if it's used as a crutch, that's where it's a problem. And what I mean by that is it's a tool to provide safety. It's a tool to provide freedom. It is not a tool to exercise your dog, meaning that you should not put your dog outside in the yard and expect them to get exercised in a way that is productive, which is the key point, because they will get exercised. 100% they will get exercised, but they may get exercise doing the wrong thing.
Digging holes.
Digging holes. That might be chewing up your lighting. That might be barking at every single person who passes by the house. Yep. So there's a lot of negative behaviors that can arise if you are using it as a crutch. I would never tell you to use it as a crutch. Use it as a tool to provide your dog with more safety and more freedom than you would be able to give them without it. And I think as long as you use it that way, I would tell you 100% use it. Invisible Fence brand is the only thing that I would ever recommend. straight up. Like I don't even flex on that even a little bit. Remote collars, I do. I'll tell you, there's a few different brands that I would suggest. With a pet containment system, Invisible Fence is the
company.
go-to. Like there's other companies out there, but they don't hold a candle to what Invisible Fence brand does. So I don't even get paid to say that, but this is just, I'm a raving fan because I've used it myself for a long time and been very, very happy with it. So that's my 2 cents on that. Jess, is there anything you want to add to that? If not, I'm just
head on.
Kind of bring this thing to a head here. We had a couple comments that came in, and somebody had mentioned flexi leads, and how they're not a good choice. So I will take a second to just touch that for a moment. Flexi leads are, believe it or not, you might hate what I'm saying, I actually really like flexi leashes. I love flexi leashes when I have a puppy because it allows me to teach the dog to retrieve and to do different types of play activities where the dog is got the freedom to run around and do different things without getting their legs caught up in the leash. I do not like them for taking the dog for a walk per se, unless that dog has really been well trained. And that again is a tool that's used for freedom, not for control.
Right.
Flexi leashes should not be used to control a dog. They should be used to provide freedom. There's a very specific intent, and you need to be honest with yourself about where it is that you're at with your dog. And if it is that you're using your leash to control your dog, don't use a flexi leash. If you're using it because your dog is really under control and you want to give them more freedom, I love it. I think it's a brilliant tool for that. So we say a lot, it's not the tool, it's the fool.
Yep.
Right. It's not the tool, it's the fool. So I know it's tough for some people to hear, but that is the truth. I used to have 4 labs and I get it. Well, Jennifer, yeah, I'm just worried about going to 5. That's my real concern right now. One last one. How do you stop territorial behaviors? Jeff, you want to talk about territorial behaviors? And this will be our last question because we really went over on time.
Yeah.
I was just super excited about our expansion news.
I am too.
Keep going. So
yeah, that's fine. Well, territorial behaviors, it depends on what, I guess, like locale is. It could be inside the house in the foyer. It could be kennel guarding. It could be property based. It could be contingent upon who's handling the dog. So I think without going down a rabbit hole, which I'm not going to let us do again, I think in order to answer that question honestly, there's a little bit more information we'd have to have. But at the end of the day, with territorial behaviors, we have to then start looking at the 3 pillars of management. Okay, so I'm just going to base this off of, maybe somebody's coming into my house and I have a dog that's, like charging and trying to bite someone. I don't know. Say that's the situation. I'm going to go with what we call the 3 pillars of management, and I'm going to do one of 3 things. I'm going to remove the dog from the situation. I might put him in the kennel. I might put him in a different room to just take that moment away from the dogs. The second thing that I'm going to do to work the dog through it is I'm going to have him on the leash and I'm going to help him do the right thing. Okay. Depending on the dog's level of obedience of what it can and cannot perform. My go-to would be able to start with creating that threshold buffer between the dog and the person or whatever that's getting territorial over. I might put my foot on the leash and get the dog to calm down, or actively start working with the dog. At the very beginning of this call, we talked about the puppy nipping and being proactive on how to change a dog's behavior versus to correct things constantly. So I might go into some place work, some down, some stays, some heel work, whatever is kind of conducive in that moment. But it depends on what the dog's being territorial of or over. Is it an object, a person, a thing, a space?
Yeah, those are all great points, Jess. The territorial behaviors to me are a telltale sign of a lack of leadership in that dog's life. And I'm not trying to take a shot at you, but that's the reality of the situation here, is that if the dog feels the need to behave that way, then it's likely that the dog's not getting clear enough direction on what they should be doing. And so, this goes to our, old saying of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yep.
We can prevent dogs from having these types of behaviors by providing them with a more structured lifestyle. We talk about work versus play and the difference between the two quite frequently in our training program. And the reality is that when people are having problems with their dog, it's because the dog's not working. The dog's not performing its job. Now, that job may not be herding cattle that day. It may be just being obedient.
Right.
Might be sitting quietly. So, we really have to bring obedience into the picture as much as possible, and make that part of the dog's lifestyle. And when they see that they're not getting, when they're not getting reinforcement for doing the wrong things, then these behaviors generally don't even start.
Right.
Lonnie, good old fat Lonnie, my old Malinois that is no longer with me as of a couple of years ago, he was a monster of a dog. I mean, he was like one of my most incredible dogs. And most people were petrified of him if they were not a dog person that really knew him. That being said, he was never territorial. Never. Now, he was protection trained.
Yep.
And he could light right up, but he was never territorial. And it was because I always had direction for him. I told him what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and it just didn't allow that level of freedom. So I would just encourage you, Sarah, right now, focus on obedience. Get that dog super obedient, super attentive to you. And I think you can prevent things from getting worse, and you can likely probably curb a little bit of what's going on if you can eliminate the reward for what it is that they're doing, which tends to be the challenge. If you have a dog barking at everybody that's walking by the house, it's a self-rewarded behavior, if you will. Yeah. So, all right. Well, look, I know we went way over on time here, but thank you all so much for jumping on and joining us this evening. If you joined us late and you missed the news, you'll just have to go back. But yes, we are opening a 5,000 square foot expansion right smack dab next door to DogiZone. So it is going to be super exciting. Yes, more news to come on that. Thank you for joining us, and we will definitely see you all here in about a month. Yep. Have a better than great night. See you soon.
Bye.